On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style. Hope everybody out there is having themselves a great day. We've got a lot to talk about today. Tulsi Gabbard, we got her intro speech, which I thought was pretty fantastic. We've got a couple things around Kash Patel. These two are freaking them out a lot, the deep state. I would say also we could probably include Kennedy on that list as well. They are scared. There's things happening. Don't know exactly with this crash. We're going to talk about that too. There's so many weird things going on. The economy, China making really strange moves. Folks, I'm telling you, I've said it before and I'm going to say it again. DRSlikesgold.com. DRSlikesgold.com. Their system, you want to diversify because things are going to get interesting before they get better. Trump is here to help fix it, but I almost feel like it has to break first so he can finally fix it. We'll see. Again, a lot of crazy stuff to talk about. Let the games begin. Also got our live music show. Happens 3 p.m. Pacific time, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central, Friday, and we do a fun show. This show today is going to be on change, and then my good friend Alpha from the Alpha Warrior show is going to be here. Actually, we'll be recording Synchronicity. We haven't had it for a long time, and Alpha's going to talk about a very cool journey that he has been on for today's show, and then we're going to get back into the Law of One stuff for sure. All said, a lot going on in the big world out there. This is just pretty funny. The office of Kamala B. Harris. This page is unburdened by what has been. That's a 404 message. That's obviously a legit error, but it's not a legit 404, I don't think. I think they just changed the landing page, but whatever the case is, that's still funny as hell. It's been unburdened by itself, that's for sure. Weird news happening with Frontier Airlines. Definitely an airline I'm not fond of, that's for sure. They really, they take all the comforts out of flying. But they were one of the only ones that had a direct flight to San Antonio, so they'd always try to get me to use them. I'd intentionally do search windows that didn't incorporate when these planes flew, because I friggin' hated flying on them. Anyway, I hope nobody got hurt or anything, but Frontier Airlines issued a nationwide ground stop due to IT issues. So, I don't know. Don't know what's going on, folks. This is kind of a trip and very scary, and anybody that's here in the California area, Pacific Palisades rebuilding must include low-income housing per Los Angeles law. This is what Karen Bass is going to be trying to push through. DEI. LA Mayor Karen Bass is hiring an outside consultant to rebuild the Pacific Palisades in a more equitable and environmentally sustainable way. She intends to award the contract without authorization from the property owners. Literally, nobody's allowed to rebuild their homes the way they were or even make improvements so long as it fits on the lot. They're taking that right away. Lawsuits better start going because there's no way that's correct, fair, legal. But this Karen Bass, we've got to get her the hell out of office. This woman is just absolutely out of her friggin' mind. And this is partially why, or majorly why, I think this is the case right now. And this is a Quinnipiac poll. They did this poll. Apparently share who say they have an unfavorable opinion of the Democrat Party. Now, interestingly, this question gets asked in sort of sporadic times, but was asked 0 times between August 2019 and January 2025. Didn't ask it at all. And it was down, I don't know, looks like around 47% of people that were unfavorable opinion of the Democratic Party. Right now, it's sitting at 57% in a Quinnipiac poll. This looks about maybe a point higher than it's ever been, maybe 2, but that's a point higher. This one right here, back in 2017 when Trump first came into office. I think, right? Was it 2017 when that really started rolling? And they had the lowest favorability back then, and here we are again, except a little bit higher. So Trump does seem to have an effect on that, but then we all need to continue rippling in the proper ways to try to help keep that from happening. Now, just to make matters worse, insult to injury, I guess at least 3 wildfires have now ignited near North Carolina towns that were devastated by Hurricane Helene. Lithium battery facility, much? Sure sounds like it, doesn't it? Looks like the deep state is still making major moves within this country. Right now, with Trump in office, so again, I'm not saying he's not gonna resolve and fix this stuff, but all those people that feel like, oh, everything's good, Trump's in office now, I don't think it's fair to assume that by any stretch of the imagination. A lot going on with the crash. Let's get into that. We got new film that shows it from a couple different angles. I mean, that one's just horrific. You can literally see it crashing into the water after they hit each other. Now, we've got some information from SecDef Pete Hegseth, and we've got information from, again, Donald Trump. We got a whole lot of stuff to get into, especially video around all of this. There's another image of that. I feel like this was the same one. No, this is slightly different.
In the first video, the Black Hawk can be seen flying at speed over the Potomac from the left side of the screen. The American Airlines plane can be seen flying towards the airport before the two collide, causing a midair explosion and fall into the river.
Just craziness. Oh yeah, here's another view of it. Kind of cool.
In the second video, you can see the Army helicopter and American Airlines plane travel toward each other. After the collision and subsequent explosion, the airliner can be seen spinning into the water, and the Black Hawk is also seen falling into the water.
And certainly not cool, but yeah, I mean, it's just the word that popped out of my head. It's stupid talk, but it is an interesting angle, and it's so bad that happened. Obviously, we've come to find out there was hockey people on there. There was some lady that was a lawyer to some degree. Supposedly, we've got footage of it. There was a body that was taken to D.C. specifically. People are wondering who the hell that was. Don't know. There was a hunting group that was on there. So a lot of very interesting characters were on this flight coming back. Again, don't know if any of them are specific people or and anything along those lines. Whatever the case is, Trump takes a couple questions, but also signs these two executive orders or actions. I think they're actions, actually, or at least one of them's an administrative thing. I don't know, slightly different, whatever, executive somethings. Here's Trump signing those and taking some questions.
We thought we'd let you watch. If we could, I'd ask Will to explain the first, but really more importantly, explain the second, and we'll start signing. Go ahead, please.
Yes, sir. Just two items for your signature today. The first is the formal commission appointing Chris Rochelot to be the Deputy Administrator of the Federal Aviation Administration.
Right.
And since the commissioner position since the administrator position is currently vacant, he will act as the administrator since he's now been appointed deputy.
And he's a very capable guy.
Extremely experienced in aviation and highly regarded in the industry and in government.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Second, for your signature, we have a presidential memorandum titled Immediate Assessment of Aviation Safety. In light of the damage done to aviation safety by the Biden administration's DEI and woke policies, what this presidential memorandum orders is for your Secretary of Transportation and FAA Administrator, in this case acting FAA Administrator, to basically ensure that we are actively undoing all of that damage, that we are assessing how much damage was done, and that we're ensuring that people hired within the FAA, in keeping with your memorandum of January 21st, are only the most outstanding, capable people for the jobs that they're being hired into.
In other words, competence.
Yes, sir. Elevating competence over everything else instead of the DEI policies that were pursued by the Biden administration.
I think everyone understands that. And Obama.
Yes.
Both of them. Okay, but Biden much worse. Not even a contest. What they've done is just crazy in so many other ways. Okay?
Mr. President, to be clear, are you saying race or gender played a role in this tragedy?
It may have. I don't know. Incompetence might have played a role. We'll let you know that. But we want the most competent people. We don't care what race they are. We want the most competent people, especially in those positions. And, you're talking about extremely complex things. And if they don't have a great brain, a great power of the brain, they're not going to be very good at what they do, and bad things will happen.
Mr. President, there's long been concerns about the amount of congestion out of D.C. airport. Do you think that there's too many flights coming out of that airport?
No, I think we need very smart people running the flights and doing it. You know, the ones that aren't good, when they'll either do one of two things. They'll have too many coming in and they can't handle it, or they'll have the people waiting up in the air, which everyone's been caught in that situation, and circling the airports for an hour, and that's no good either.
Mr. President, are you aware?
Military helicopter training flights that are flying around National Airport all the time, what's your view? Should they be rolled back?
It's fine if they're in the right locations and if they're not at the same levels. I mean, if a plane coming in is at 300 feet or 400 feet and a helicopter's training at 300 or 400 feet, why wouldn't they be up 500 feet higher? So I certainly want, and that to a certain extent is the air traffic controller. Wait, please, wait just a second.
You feel like what happened last night was preventable?
I do, yeah. Oh, absolutely. And obviously, that was something that should not have happened. And we're not going to let it happen again. Yes, please.
Mr. President, on a slightly different subject, on your Canada and Mexico tariffs, will oil be included or excluded from those tariffs?
So we'll be announcing the tariffs on Canada and Mexico for a number of reasons. Number one is the people that have poured into our country so horribly and so much. Number two are the drugs, fentanyl, and everything else that have come into the country. And number three are the massive subsidies that we're giving to Canada and to Mexico in the form of deficits. And I'll be putting the tariff of 25% on Canada and separately 25% on Mexico. And we will really have to do that because we have very big deficits with those countries. Those tariffs may or may not rise with time.
Will oil be part of that, though? Because we get oil from Canada.
Oil is going to have nothing to do with it as far as I'm concerned. Oil has nothing to do with it.
Mr. President, you said in confidence. Regarding Guantanamo Bay, you want 30,000 new beds there. Is there a possibility that will increase, or is 30,000 the
It could increase, yes.
What would be the maximum?
It depends, but countries that won't take back their criminals that they sent into us, you know, they sent them to us. They put them into the caravans, and they came in. As sure as you're standing there, they were sent by those countries. Then they're going to be met very harshly with sanctions, etc.
And when are you hoping to have Guantanamo Bay, this new facility, up and running?
It'll be up pretty quickly.
How much do you think it's going to cost?
Not very much. It's a lot of the structure is already there, as you know.
Mr. President, you said that incompetence may have played a role. Are you aware of any performance issues or disciplinary actions that were taken against anyone who was working the tower last night or flying the plane?
No, and I hope that's not the case in this case, but certainly over the years it's been the case. And it's the case with respect to close calls, and it's the case with respect to circling for hours on end. You know, planes circle a lot, and they circle because the people bringing them down, these people that have to be very, very smart, and it's not based on anything other than the brain. We need the smartest people. We need both psychologically smart and just brilliant, period. And we are going to have them in our control towers. We are going to have the most competent people in the country in our control towers, not people that are there for any other reason.
Yeah, so again, he's making huge changes. He's getting us out of the mess that's been created by Biden and everything, intentionally for that matter. The military Black Hawk helicopter that crashed into a passenger plane near Reagan National Airport Wednesday appears to have been flying above the permitted altitude. We'd heard eyewitnesses' accounts that they said it went up 150 feet, 39 seconds prior to hitting. It, for whatever reason, likely possibly air traffic controller, set it to that level. The only other thought that I've been able to come up with thus far, I think there's probably some that are far more. I mean, there's a possibility that it was remote controlled. That is possible. So maybe 3. The other is, and I don't think this is the case, and I'm not saying that this is the case. I'm just saying if by chance, God forbid, the pilot maybe was suicidal and like literally was flying to try to hit that hell. I mean, there's not a lot of options here. And I don't think that's the case. Well, we know who the pilot was. There's question about the co-pilot, and there was an individual that was there, possibly an instructor or somebody that was grading them, because supposedly this was a certification flight. So very interesting information that's coming out, right? The big question is how and why did this happen? Why was the helicopter in an inappropriate altitude? Here's Trump talking about exactly that.
That the helicopter was at the exact same level as the airplane. The helicopter should have been 1,000 feet or 500 feet above it or something below it. The plane was at 300 to 400 feet, or the plane should have been stopped because the helicopter could have stopped. The plane can't be stopped, but the plane was on a schedule that was, it was along a track. They call it a track. And it's the same track that every other plane's used for many years. It was going down and landing. And the helicopter got in its way. And if the helicopter was higher or lower or stopped or turning left or turning right at a quicker time. I mean, it turned, but it turned when it was too late. A tragic story. So, I don't know, do you blame it on the air traffic controller too, in addition to the pilots? Maybe the pilot's fault, they should have seen it. I would have thought they should have seen it. Because it was a plane that was loaded up with lights, and everybody, you can see it from Kennedy Center, you can see it very easily. So all I want is the most competent people in our country to be air traffic controllers. It's a very important position, and other positions too, by the way. We're not only talking about that, but air traffic controllers, maybe in particular. They have to be brilliant with computers, brilliant with graphics. They have to be psychologically really, really smart. And, there are a lot of people that wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of questions. What and why? Why did this happen? How did this happen? I mean, they're going to get to the bottom of it, I assume. Donald Trump truthed out. The Black Hawk helicopter was flying too high by a lot. It was far above the 200-foot limit. That's not really too complicated to understand, is it? And it's not. So why were they at the 500-foot level? First off, it just seems weird. Why would they even be flying them that close to right where planes are landing? Like, I feel like you could take them out a little way further and then keep them down low, 200, 500, but you're even further away from the airport at that point, so any plane that's going to land is going to be at 1,000 feet, probably-ish, right? They're going to be coming in full flaps, like dropping down, like a plane on a carrier, almost, not quite. Flying into Orange County, it feels like that. It feels like you're landing on a friggin' concrete carrier. It's kind of a fun place to land. For any of you guys that have ever flown into John Wayne, it is it's a very short runway. And 737s, DC-10s or DC-9s, I should say, back in the day. Not a lot of big planes can fly out of there. So the airport tower supervisor at Reagan Washington National Airport combined two controller positions into one before Wednesday night's midair collision, according to a source with direct knowledge. Probably one of these people. But again, that's always used against us. ABC is saying this. But when the aircraft volume goes down, a supervisor can make the decision to combine two controller positions into one. So again, helicopters usually handle helicopters. Planes are usually handled by plane person. They don't usually combine those unless, like they say, volumes are down. So this happens routinely. It's not uncommon. And on Wednesday at Region Airport, it happened 40 minutes earlier than it normally does because the supervisor determined that the traffic was low enough to combine, according to a source with direct knowledge. Now, it sounds like they may have been trying to cut back hours or something weird like that. This position handles local arrivals into Reagan and helicopter traffic when it's combined. Reagan is not understaffed, the source said. So it's not an understaffing issue. Now we're getting down to it. So they made someone do two things at the same time when maybe it wasn't. So that supervisor or the air traffic controller are probably in the crosshairs right now. We've got a former air traffic controller talking about how the DEI stuff has been very involved and caused all sorts of issues in hiring. I mean, this goes back, I think, to almost 10 years or 10 years plus. And he's talking about it. And this is probably part of this too. Again, it's a lot of things, right? A lot of possibilities. Let's keep our minds open. Who knows exactly, but I think we're starting to piece together a lot of the things, and obviously when you put a bunch of the wrong people in the places that need to be staffed by the right people, you start to have problems. You start to have plane crashes. That's common. In fact, it happened a bunch back in Reagan. A bunch of people, air traffic controllers went on strike. Reagan basically fired them, and then all of a sudden we started having a rise in crashes and stuff. It was If you don't have people that are properly trained, this, like Trump says, this is not an easy job. They're actually putting out apps for this. By the way, people are talking about I should be a reporter in Washington, D.C. This actually sounded, even though it's like high stress and people hate the job, I don't know. For some reason, I feel like I'd enjoy it. That was actually something I was thinking about. Like, I could be an air traffic controller. I bet I could pass that test. All said. Yeah, here's this guy talking about it.
This is a preventable disaster. The system has been under attack due to DEI and the FAA bowing to wokeness since 2010, since the Obama administration. The lack of staffing is directly attributable to the Obama administration terminating the lists of eligible, well-trained air traffic control statements in 36 universities across the country in 2013 because they were too white. The FAA also, at the same time, implemented an immunity program. So you think you're seeing legitimate statistics, you're not. In the old days, before 2010, the immunity program, if an air traffic controller got two airplanes too close, too many times, they would be decertified and retrained. Now, they're not. All they have to do within 48 hours of being noticed or being investigated for a potential separation error, they're called operational errors in the FAA, the controller just simply has to avail themselves of this program that gives them immunity. And when I say immunity, I mean immunity. The FAA cannot retrain these people. If somebody has a repetitive instance of malfeasance or lack of competency, the FAA, because of this immunity program, cannot rectify the situation. They have to basically allow the person to remain in the same position. It's very, very difficult for the FAA to retrain a controller, and it's attributed to, quite frankly, the union and the FAA working together to basically use this program to gerrymander the statistics of near-midair collisions.
Scott,
you mentioned that. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
This whole thing is a mess, right? Constantly putting the wrong people in all sorts of places. All sorts of places. All sorts of places. The level of crap that Trump's got to try to unravel in all of this, just in the big picture, I don't mean just the crash, I mean the government, is beyond reproach. So Donald Trump retruthed this. This is just one reason why our country was going to hell. Elon Musk is posting some stuff about all this diversity and equity crap. New York Post story, the FAA's diversity push includes focus on hiring people with severe intellectual and psychiatric disabilities because they want to get some sort of checkbox like, oh, we got the most special people in our program. And it's like, you literally handle the lives of countless people. Yeah, but the guy he sits on an exercise bike all day long. That's all he does. Right? Like, no, these people are apparently maybe not capable of doing the job, or at least of doing double the workload. Like, maybe some people shouldn't be doing both helicopters and planes. And as a manager, you should be able to figure that out. And maybe they don't care. Who knows? Maybe, accidents rarely happen. But when they do, they suck. Here's Pete Hegseth talking about what he knows right now and what's going down. And again, he doesn't forward a lot of information, but I like the fact that he's out there. Like, I don't know. Some of this feels like he's trying to be out there. Not in a bad way. Like, I'm not critiquing him or giving him shit for it. But at the same time, I almost wonder if this didn't need to happen. Now, my favorite part of this, by the way, this is the thing I got the biggest kick out of. I'm curious what you guys think. It was just cool seeing all the cool shit in the background. He's got 2 sets of phones, 2 monitors, and he's got 2 more kind of monitor things over here. Got some crazy shit going on. Annoying background green screen and he's actually logged in right now because it's like he's got his desktop there. Anyway, crazy. His little coffee cup. Again, stuff matters. I don't know. I like this guy, whatever the case is. But here's him giving us a heads up on what the hell's going on.
All right, update this morning. Just got off the phone with the Southcom commander and the chairman, the Joint Chiefs, talking about our efforts at Guantanamo Bay. That is ongoing. We're leaning forward on supporting the president's directive to make sure that we have a location for violent criminal illegals as they are deported out of the country. No one's going to wait on the Defense Department, and we're working that in real time. But I also wanted to give an update on the tragedy that happened last night here in Washington, D.C., and provide a little bit more information as we are actively working to investigate and understand what occurred and why. At about 8:48 last night, a UH-60 assigned to the U.S. Army Aviation Brigade in the Military District of Washington, Fort Belvoir, Virginia, collided tragically with a civilian airliner. The unit involved, the Army unit involved, was Bravo Company 12th Aviation Battalion at Fort Belvoir. It was an annual proficiency training flight. And when we look at the crew, and not all kin have been notified, so we're going to withhold ranks and names at this point. We do know on our side who was involved. It was a fairly experienced crew, and that was doing a required annual night evaluation. They did have night vision goggles. The 12th Aviation Battalion, as of now, is granted a 48-hour operational pause on contingency missions as what happened is reviewed, and a senior level aviation team, an investigative team from our Aviation Safety Center, was deployed last night and already is in Washington, D.C. to investigate what's going on. We anticipate that the investigation will quickly be able to determine whether the aircraft was in the corridor and at the right altitude at the time of the incident. As I mentioned, next of kin notifications are ongoing. It's a tragedy, a horrible loss of life for those 64 souls on that civilian airliner, and of course, the 3 soldiers in that Black Hawk. They're in our prayers, their families and their communities. As people are notified, I can't imagine. And I know it's gone from a rescue mission to a recovery mission, and we're with all the first responders that are moving actively too. So at the Defense Department, our thoughts and prayers go out. We are actively investigating to find out what happened and why. And as we get updates, you will have them. God bless.
Amen. And again, prayers out to everybody that's passed away. It doesn't matter if you're a hunter or an ice skater or a soldier. Like, it's just so sad. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth told Fox and Friends on Friday that the black boxes on board the Black Hawk helicopter that collided with the American Airlines passenger jet near Reagan National Airport have not been recovered yet. They've got the black box for the United Airlines flight. I'm sorry, American Airlines flight. They've got that black box. They do not have the helicopter one yet. Or the way here's how I'm going to read into this a little teeny tiny bit. Easier to say we don't have it yet. Well, we're still trying to find that. Divers are looking for it. They know exactly where it is. This thing's pinging. Get out of here, please. They know exactly where the frick it is. They've got it. They just don't want to necessarily. They want to be able to, 1, look at everything, and then 2, then they've got to put together, like, how are we going to handle the fact that this looks like one of 2 things, right? Either they were totally unaware, and that's not good. That looks bad, right? The helicopter, literally, I mean, they had infrared on. The bright, blaring light, like, go into the light. Like, what is this, poltergeist? No, don't go into the light. Duck down. Scooch down or go up or something. Turn. I don't know. You're a helicopter. You've got options. I mean, you're probably cruising, but... Or were they told by air traffic control? Oh, flight such and such. Go to 500 feet. I don't know. They say angel or something. I don't know. However they'd say it. It's a military. I don't know. Angel 0.5. How does that even work when you're not even at 1,000? Right? Angel 1 would be 1,000, I think, right? Anyway, I don't know. I'm not in the military. I just play a lot of video games and love that kind of crap. I think I've learned more through video games than I have anything, so that's probably why it's mostly wrong. So Hegseth says black box is not recovered yet. I doubt that. I personally have a hard time believing that. I think that's retarded. A GE Aerospace employee was on board the flight that collided, so we got a GE Special Aerospace employee. Larry Culp, he's the CEO, said this in a statement. Said this tragedy is not only for the industry, but also for the GE Aerospace team and one of our cherished colleagues who was on board the flight. Now, this is the one that makes me wonder if they were trying to off somebody. This might be the guy. Could be. This would kind of make sense. I don't know what was about to happen. Maybe there was a whistleblower who had a bunch of ice skaters. Who friggin' knows, dude? Who knows? I doubt it was the hunters. I doubt they're like, oh, we can't have a bunch of Second Amendment bastards running around. Let's see if we can take out 7 of them or 10 of them or whatever the hell. Black Hawk instructor pilot Andrew Eves was killed in the D.C. plane crashes, identified as his devastated widow pays tribute. This is the pilot. Now, he supposedly had 1,000 hours. It's not like some schmo. This dude knew how to fly a Black Hawk. He knew how to fly a Black Hawk in probably a lot of different ways. 1,000 hours is pretty good. I mean, it's not like long, but it's pretty good. You've flown a bunch. You've flown a bunch without crashing thus far. Well, this part has kind of led stuff into a different direction. I feel like this is where I was going to point out. I feel like this is the one where they tell us that the co-pilot was, yeah, here it is. Co-pilot was a female with 500 hours. Now, this got kind of spun into a weird direction. 2 ways. One, there was a whole group of people that are like, the co-pilot was a female. Wow. Like, that's the reason this plane crash happened. I don't know. For maybe combat, like men have, I think, higher, what are they called? The snap muscle, whatever. Like, there's a possibility that maybe men might be better in some cases when it comes to the combat pilot. I'm not sure. I don't know. I'd love to see the information, but there is some differences between the two sexes when it comes to some of these types of things, muscle movement and stuff like that. But when it comes to, like, you know, flying a cargo plane, flying a helicopter, and again, they require some skill, and Apache would be different, but I'm not trying to be difficult. I'm just trying to say, I think men and women are like almost identical in this case. I don't think it matters that it was a woman. Like, I don't understand why that's being played up. That's not even part of DEI per se. Now, whether we have women on the front lines, that's kind of scary to a degree, but whatever. Like, right? As long as, whatever. We're going to probably get to a point where that might not happen, and frankly, we should keep our women safe. It's what men are programmed to do. It's, again, whether you want to or not. I want to fight. That's great. You stay back here because that dude's going to kick your ass. I know that for sure. So let's just leave you behind the fence here where you're safe. So we find that out. And then apparently some individual, Naito Mwangi, apparently he's got direct insight into what's going on. Doesn't sound like he's from this country. He's flying a flag from God knows where. That's the real Naito Mwangi, though, just in case you were wondering. This is the actual real one. But they said the transgender chief warrant officer to a UH Black Hawk pilot was crashed in the helicopter, taking 66 lives with her. They basically call out this person as Meet Joe Ellis. This is Joe Ellis. Joe Ellis is this apparently transgender individual that is piloting the Black Hawk. But then, not even sure if Joe Ellis is transgender. I guess we'll find out in a second together. But this is Joe Ellis.
Interesting morning. This is Joe Ellis. I am
it is definitely a dude.
Hawk pilot with Virginia Army National
Holy
Guard.
Holy shit.
I understand some people have associated me with the crash in DC, and that is false. It is insulting to the families to try to tie this to some sort of political agenda. They don't deserve that. I don't deserve this. And I hope that you all know that I'm alive and well, and this should be sufficient for you all to end all the rumors. I also have a statement. The Department of Defense is responsible for casualty notifications. There were no Virginia National Guard personnel on that Black Hawk that collided with the jetliner Wednesday evening. Thank you.
So again, and I like to be fair, but I was obviously a dude. I feel like I listened to it the first time, but I must not have, because that voice is very distinctive. Nice baritone voice. We'd probably sing in the same, well, we'd be Salt and Pepper, but we'd be close to each other in choir, I'm sure. Yeah, all said, you have nicer hair. I get you. So it's us, I think, trying to fit things to what we're seeing. But there's no such thing as a coincidence, Dan, and this person that had nothing to do with this. Right? So many of us jump onto it because of it was transgender. Well, that person's supposedly still alive. Obviously not them. They would have been on the helicopter. They'd be toasty roasty, just like everybody was on that helicopter. And everybody ended up on that airplane. So Republic Airways Flight 4514. This happened earlier, like the day before, I believe. 24 hours before. Republic Airways Flight 4514 from Bradley International Airport in Connecticut had to make it a second approach because a helicopter went right in front of where they were supposed to land, and they aborted their landing. So, leading us to believe this has a heck lot more to do with air traffic control than anything else. Now, again, why these Black Hawk pilot or co-pilot or anybody on that craft did not see the airplane they were about to slam into is beyond words for me. Seems like they should have been way more aware of their situational awareness, they'd call it. As 3 people failed. I don't care if air traffic is telling me to fly at 500 feet. If I'm about to crash into a plane, I ain't going to do it. So FAA restricts helicopter flights near Reagan National Airport after this midair collision. So, good. Finally. Yay! Why the fuck were they even there to begin with? It's insanity, right? Now, here's the weird thing about, like I said, they took a body to D.C. And again, what does that even mean exactly, right? Some of you guys may know, but took it to D.C. They're already technically, I think, in D.C. Isn't Reagan National Airport in D.C. already? Whatever. Listen.
May I meet up with you, please? I want to take 1. You can take 2, please.
Sure, I'm at Bravo 49, sir.
Copy.
EMS branch from Airport Fire Point 378.
Go ahead.
Per our conversation earlier, I just spoke with Command Center out here on the water. They advised, as far as they know, they have one body that was taken to D.C. That is all they know so far. They'll confirm and get back with you.
Okay. Got it, thank you.
May I meet up with you, please? I want to take 1. You can take 2, please.
Sure, I'm at Bravo 49, sir.
So they just play it again, but they're taking 1 to D.C. Not 100% sure what that 1 is, who that 1 was. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. Judy Shelton posted this. U.S. Department of Treasury withdraws from the network of central banks and supervisors for greening the financial system. NGFS, apparently. We have pulled out of that as well. We have, at least it sounds like, taken control of our Treasury, which is going to be hugely important in the big picture. Trump's going to hold his first meeting with CEO of AI chip maker NVIDIA. Curious to see where that goes. First off, NVIDIA makes, well, I think, arguably the best graphics cards out there. I am certainly a gamer. I enjoy them. I use them. All of my computers have NVIDIA chips in them right now. All of them. Love them. Love NVIDIA. But this AI DeepSeek thing has created a major problem for NVIDIA. I'm going to try to get better understanding of that. I mean, some people know it really well. I don't know. But their stock took a hard hit because of this popularity, this Chinese artificial intelligence DeepSeek. Maybe because they can hack into the back end because NVIDIA, I don't know. I can think of a lot of reasons why DeepSeek's unique and problematic and yada, 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 all that good stuff. But it's not necessarily, why did that stuff happen? You guys suck. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it plays out. Canada and Mexico are going to face 25% tariffs on Saturday, says Trump. This is going to cause some ripples throughout the world right now. This is going to freak out a lot of people. This is going to, well, it's probably going to cause some interesting experiences within the stock market. It's planning on going after China to a degree. And this is, I think, some is to stop the bleeding of our economy right now, because we are in a very, very tough place, unquestionably. Very tough place. And I think this is his attempt to start moving that ball in the correct direction. But hiccups will definitely come in the process. Donald Trump tripped this out. The idea that the BRICS countries are trying to move away from the dollar while we stand by and watch is over. We are going to require a commitment from these seemingly hostile countries that they will neither create a new BRICS currency nor back any other currency to replace the mighty U.S. dollar, or they will face 100% tariffs and should expect to say goodbye to selling into the wonderful U.S. economy. They can go find another sucker nation. There is no chance that BRICS will replace the U.S. dollar in international trade or anywhere else, and any country that tries should say hello to tariffs and goodbye to America. That's a big deal because Brazil, India, a bunch of other countries are in there. And China, for that matter, too, I think. Which is a lot of insanity. Folks, we are far from being out of the woods. Stock market is an interesting place. Look, my friends at Goldco, I love them. I love them dearly because their customer service is incredible. Their ability to help transfer money tax-free and penalty-free from the deep state 401k or IRA system. Okay, they can move that money tax-free, penalty-free into a precious metals IRA. Precious metals prices have gone up to such a point where people have actually, it looks like on paper, gained wealth. Gained wealth. Like what $1,000 could buy 4 years ago, and you bought gold, you know, 1,700 or whatever it was, right? Okay, what 1,700 would buy for that matter, but whatever, $1,000 in gold, just keep the numbers easy. And you bought that back then, and you took that $1,000 of gold right now and cashed it in, which Goldco gives the highest price buyback guarantee, by the way, just FYI, one of the myriad of reasons why I love these guys. But you sell that, quote, $1,000 piece of gold, whatever it was, would have been just a hair less than an ounce, right? Almost a half ounce, whatever. And you sell it, you'd actually have more buying power with what you got for it today than you did then. Right now, gold's like over 26. I think it hit over 28 a moment ago, and then it came back down. It was at 17 4 years ago. It's at 28 now, or close to. That's what we're talking about. So you would have gone from what? We'll just make the numbers easy. Half of 17, right? Say that's 800 plus 850. So you would have got $850, and today at almost 28, you get $1,400. You can buy way more with $1,400 today than you could with $700 then or $800 then. That's why. It's protecting your wealth. Go to drslikesgold.com. drslikesgold.com. Tax-free, penalty-free. Move out of their system. Go with someone that can actually help you do it reasonably quickly. Don't know when things are going to get crazy. And look, like I said, they don't believe all the crazy crap I talk about. They just handle the important part of this whole transaction. You're, of course, helping the channel. I am a Goldco partner, and I'm proud to be. I think it's the best company out there that helps you through this process. Hands down, bar none. Go to drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. If you've got an actual correct, I guess, 401k or IRA, one that qualifies, maybe is a better way to put it, then when you put the 4 data points in, whether it's here or here, and you hit the button, it'll give you this pop-up, and you'll have like 18 minutes, 20 minutes to call a certain phone number. If you call that phone number within that time, you'll actually get that free coin sent to you. Free. It's half an ounce of collectible silver, 0.999% pure. I think silver's a little over 31 when I checked yesterday. So half of that. That's $16 or whatever, like 15 and a half. That's pretty solid, right? Just to say thanks. You're going to get an awesome set of information about how gold and silver protects your wealth. You're also going to get a great book, Trump and Your Financial Future. All of these things free. Just for letting us show you what we can do to help you. And of course, they help you do it, and their customer service is bar none the best. drslikesgold.com, drslikesgold.com. Get out of their system before they get out of you. Tulsi Gabbard, got some good stuff with her. I wanted to do her full intro. I did this with a few people, frankly, but Cash, I gave his full intro, which was only about 5 minutes, which was smart. She went a whole like 10 plus. I also had Kennedy's full thing in there. Oh, loved that. Kennedy cracks me up. The dude's funny as hell. Anyways, here's Tulsi Gabbard. Here was her full interview. And I noticed her gray's really going way back. I thought it was just the Storm Shadow stuff here. I still like it. I still think it's sexy as hell. But she's married. I know. I've got a girlfriend. I know. Don't remind me. Okay? It's just little moments, fantasies. That's all. It's okay.
Before I begin, I too would like to start by offering my prayers and condolences to those who were killed in last night's horrific crash. Senator Warner, Senator Moran, our condolences and prayers are with you and all of your constituents. Again, Chairman Cotton, Vice Chairman Warner, and all of the members of the committee, it's an honor to be here before you today. I've appreciated the opportunity to meet with so many of you and address your questions and concerns before today's hearing. I know they've gone, but I'm grateful to Senators Burr and Ernst for their trust and their confidence in taking time to join us here today. To my husband, Abraham, my family, friends, fellow veterans, Medal of Honor recipients, and patriots, thank you for your love and support. I'm honored and grateful to President Trump for his trust and confidence in nominating me to serve our country as the Director of National Intelligence at a time when trust in the intelligence community, unfortunately, is at an all-time low. Chuck Schumer admitted a few years ago, quote, "You take on the intelligence community, they have 6 ways from Sunday at getting back at you." For too long, faulty, inadequate, or weaponized intelligence have led to costly failures and the undermining of our national security and God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution. The most obvious example of one of these failures is our invasion of Iraq based upon a total fabrication or complete failure of intelligence. This disastrous decision led to the deaths of tens of thousands of American soldiers, millions of people in the Middle East, mass migration, destabilization, and undermining of the security and stability of our European allies, the rise of ISIS, strengthening of al-Qaeda and other Islamist jihadist groups, and strengthening Iran. Here are just a few other examples. The American people elected Donald Trump as their president not once but twice, and yet the FBI and intelligence agencies were politicized by his opponents to undermine his presidency and falsely portray him as a puppet of Putin. Title I of FISA was used illegally to obtain a warrant to spy on Trump campaign advisor Carter Page, using a Clinton campaign-funded false dossier as their so-called evidence. Biden campaign advisor Tony Blinken was the impetus for the 51 former senior intelligence officials' letter dismissing Hunter Biden's laptop as disinformation specifically to help Biden win the election. Former DNI James Clapper lied to this committee in 2013, denying the existence of programs that facilitated the mass collection of millions of Americans' phone and internet records, yet was never held accountable. Under John Brennan's leadership, the CIA abused its power to spy on Congress, to dodge oversight, lied about doing it until he was caught, and yet has never been held responsible. Under Biden, the FBI abused its power for political reasons to try to surveil Catholics who attend traditional Latin Mass, labeling them as quote-unquote radical traditionalist Catholics. Personally, just 24 hours after I criticized Kamala Harris and her nomination, I was placed on a secret domestic terror watch list called Quiet Skies. Sadly, there are more examples. The bottom line is this must end. President Trump's re-election is a clear mandate from the American people to break this cycle of failure, end the weaponization and politicization of the intelligence community, and begin to restore trust in those who've been charged with the critical task of securing our nation. If confirmed as DNI, I will do my very best to fulfill this mandate and bring leadership to the intelligence community with a laser-like focus on our essential mission, ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. As the President's principal intelligence advisor, I'll begin by leading by example, checking my own personal views at the door, and committing to delivering intelligence that is collected, analyzed, and reported without bias, prejudice, or political influence. I enlisted in the Army because of the horrific terrorist attack on September 11th and volunteered to deploy to Iraq in 2005, where I served in a medical unit. After nearly 22 years in uniform with 3 combat deployments to the Middle East and Africa, I'm now a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army Reserve, where I serve as a battalion commander of soldiers in Oklahoma, Missouri, and Arkansas. I served in Congress for 8 years on the Homeland Security, Foreign Affairs, and Armed Services committees. And it's my experience in the military and in the halls of Congress that have given me a deep understanding of the complex challenges that our nation faces, in both roles engaging with world leaders, in both roles being privy to highly classified intelligence. So I know firsthand how essential accurate, unbiased, and timely intelligence is to the President, to Congress, and to our warfighters. I also know the heavy cost of intelligence failures and abuses. Senator Collins, you led the creation of ODNI specifically to address those intelligence failures of 9/11 and Iraq's so-called WMDs. The need for the ODNI under strong leadership still exists today. If confirmed, I'll bring my experience and fresh eyes to leading the intelligence community. And my day one priorities will be to assess the global threat environment, identify where gaps in our intelligence exist, integrate intelligence elements, increase information sharing, and ensure that unbiased, apolitical, objective collection and analysis to support the president and policymakers' decision-making occur. I'll work to end the politicization of the intelligence community and ensure there is a clear mission focus in the IC on its core mission of this unbiased, apolitical collection and analysis of intelligence to secure our nation. I'll work to rebuild trust through transparency and accountability. This is a national security imperative. And I'll work to assess and address efficiencies, redundancies, and effectiveness across ODNI to ensure focus of personnel and resources is on our core mission of national security. Now, in my meetings that I've had with many of you, you expressed bipartisan frustration about recent intelligence failures as well as the lack of responsiveness to your requests for information. Whether it's the surprise October 7th Hamas terrorist attack, to the sudden takeover of Syria by Islamist extremists, failures to identify the source of COVID, anomalous health incidents, UAPs, drones, and more. If confirmed, I look forward to working with you to address these issues. Ensuring the safety, security, and freedom of the American people is a mandate of leadership that rises above partisan politics. If confirmed, my commitment to the President, to you, and to the American people is this: I will do my very best to find the truth, no matter where it leads, and share that truth with President Trump, his advisors, and you in Congress, providing you with that unbiased, timely, and accurate intelligence as you make the tough decisions that'll impact the safety, security, and freedom of the American people. Now, before I close, I want to warn the American people who are watching at home. You may hear lies and smears in this hearing that'll challenge my loyalty to and my love for our country. Those who oppose my nomination imply that I am loyal to something or someone other than God, my own conscience, and the Constitution of the United States, accusing me of being Trump's puppet, Putin's puppet, Assad's puppet, a guru's puppet, Modi's puppet, not recognizing the absurdity of simultaneously being the puppet of 5 different puppet masters. The same tactic was used against President Trump and failed. The American people elected President Trump with a decisive victory and mandate for change. The fact is, what truly unsettles my political opponents is I refuse to be their puppet. I have no love for Assad or Gaddafi or any dictator. I just hate Al-Qaeda. I hate that we have leaders who cozy up to Islamist extremists, minimizing them to so-called rebels. As Jake Sullivan said to Hillary Clinton, quote, Al-Qaeda is on our side in Syria. Well, Syria is now controlled by an Al-Qaeda offshoot, HTS, led by an Islamist jihadist who danced in the streets on 9/11 and who was responsible for the killing of many American service members. Democrat senators in the past resorted to anti-Christian bigotry against some of President Trump's judicial nominees like Amy Coney Barrett and Brian Boucher. I condemn those actions as a Democrat in Congress at the time, as religious bigotry must be thoroughly condemned by all of us, no matter the religion. Unfortunately, there are some Democrat senators who still don't understand the principle of freedom of religion and Article 6 of the Constitution. Quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Unfortunately, they're once again using the religious bigotry card, but this time trying to foment religious bigotry against Hindus and Hinduism. If anyone is sincerely interested in knowing more about my own personal spiritual path of Hinduism, I welcome you to go to my account on X, where I'll share more on this topic. If confirmed as Director of National Intelligence, I will continue to live by the oath that I have sworn at least 8 times in my life, both in uniform and as a member of Congress. I will support and defend our God-given freedoms enshrined in the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to your questions.
We are a land of religious freedoms, and I think that's an important thing to keep in mind. Again, I've talked numerous times about how I think God is far bigger than most of us realize, and a lot of us think that there's only one way to get there, and I think God's a lot cooler than that. I really do. I think there's a lot of ways to get there. There's just many mansions or many paths to that mansion, I believe. All said, I'm not trying to piss anyone off. I know it's sensitive sometimes. Josh Hawley talking about Tulsi Gabbard with Jesse Waters.
Do your Republican colleagues understand what's going to happen if they vote down Tulsi?
You know, I don't know. And I have to tell you, I'm worried by what I hear from some of my Republican colleagues. I'm worried that her nomination may be in jeopardy. And I'm just worried about what that will mean. It will mean that the reforms that we desperately need in the intelligence space, let's not just pretend everything is fine and dandy and hunky-dory in the intelligence community. It's not. Besides the fact that they have missed major issues. I mean, and besides the fact they misled us on COVID, for example, for so long, we need reform to stop the abuse of things like FISA Section 702, stop spying on Americans. I hope Tulsi gets confirmed because we need that kind of reform.
Well, now I'm worried that you're worried, Senator, and that's not a good thing. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm worried that you're worried that he's worried about being worried about your worrying. I think. I don't know who's... Someone worried too much there. I think someone went out of control on the worry factor. No, we got a lot going on, right? Here is more Tulsi. Again, someone trying to pin her into a weird place. Again, I feel like I didn't see enough of her. I saw a lot of caches. I really liked that one. But I like Tulsi, and I think what she's trying to do and where she's at, they're going after her hard. So we're going to play this one too.
Senator Kelly. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Colonel Gabbard, when Russia was denying us use of chemical weapons, they accused the U.S. of supporting terrorists. This is a line that Putin used frequently during the Syrian civil war as he supported Assad. Syrian officials made similar comments. They did it repeatedly. They did it in public. They did it at the United Nations. In 2016, you gave an interview in which you said, and this is a quote, "The U.S. is providing direct and indirect support to terrorist groups in order to overthrow the Syrian government." And in 2019, on the Democratic presidential debate stage, you said of President Trump, this is a quote, "This current president is continuing to betray us. We were supposed to be going after al-Qaeda, but over years now, not only have we not gone after al-Qaeda, our president is supporting al-Qaeda." So I'm interested to hear, what was your goal in saying these things? And did you consider, before saying them, the motives of Iran and Russia, what their motives might have been before making these claims?
Senator, as someone who enlisted in the military specifically because of al-Qaeda's terrorist attack on 9/11 and committing myself and my life to doing what I could to defeat these terrorists, it was shocking and a betrayal to me and every person who was killed on 9/11, their families and my brothers and sisters in uniform. When, as a member of Congress, I learned about President Obama's dual programs that he had begun really to overthrow the regime of Syria, and being willing to, through the CIA's Timber Sycamore program that has now been made public, of working with and arming and equipping al-Qaeda in an effort to overthrow that regime, starting yet another regime change war in the Middle East. DoD train and equip program, again, begun under President Obama, is widely been known, looked at and studied, that ultimately resulted in over $500 million being used to train who they called moderate rebels, but were actually fighters working with and aligned with al-Qaeda's affiliate on the ground in Syria, all to move forward with their regime change and not acknowledging what was obvious at the time and what has unfortunately borne true, which was that a regime change war in Syria, much like the regime change wars in Iraq, the toppling of Gaddafi and Mubarak, while these are all dictators, would likely result in the rise of Islamist extremists like al-Qaeda taking power. I shed no tears for the fall of the Assad regime, but today we have an Islamist extremist who is now in charge of Syria, as I said, who danced on the streets to celebrate the 9/11 attack, who ruled over Idlib with an Islamist extremist governance, and who has already begun to persecute and kill and arrest religious minorities like Christians in Syria.
I understand.
Why that should be acceptable to anyone is beyond me.
It
is certainly not in our interests.
I appreciate your answer, and thank you. My concern has to do with the the tendency to repeat Russian and Syrian, and even in some cases, I think we'll get into in the closed session, Iranian information, and to discount what comes from our intelligence community.
Senator, every American deserves to know that people in our own government were providing support to our sworn enemy, Al-Qaeda. That should not be acceptable by anyone.
Thank you.
Unless you've been hiding under a...
How was his head so perfectly, like, there's like no ingrown hairs there? How was that even possible? Everyone I know that shaves their head, they got some lumps and bumps somewhere around there. This dude's head's like, I feel like it was that Dr. Evil, like a perfectly shaved or shorn scrotum, I think he said. It's what it looks like. The skin looks so soft. It's probably wrong. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying it's what it looks like. Tulsi Gabbard is, well, I like how she's like kind of hardcore. She's tough. She's smart. I've never heard her talk like this before. Like, for me, it was just like, damn. Like, she's not just Storm Shadow. Kash Patel vows to protect the FBI whistleblowers. It's an important little piece that Grassley brought up, too, which is funny. The Q post said, trust Grassley. Don't know anything anymore about what we should know or not know, but he's held up. He was the first one to ask questions about Q, too, by the way. Grassley was. Interesting guy.
Will you protect whistleblowers from retaliation, unlike former Director Wray, and promote a culture at the FBI that values whistleblowers' important contributions?
Absolutely, Mr. Chairman. I share in your beliefs about the importance of whistleblowers.
So we've spent a lot of taxpayers' money ruining whistleblowers. Will you commit to ensuring that no taxpayer money will be used to identify and retaliate against whistleblowers?
Senator, if I'm confirmed, it will not.
Okay. You and I have heard a lot of criticism about various statements about January 6th.
He's the corn guy too, right? Isn't he? Right? Isn't the one that always shows the corn stock, which is corn's a big thing in this whole big picture too. So again, just a lot of fun little side things. Hakeem Jeffries literally goes there and asks for people to fight this in the streets. His words, you tell me if I'm misinterpreting this.
We are going to fight it legislatively. We are going to fight it in the courts. And we're going to fight it in the streets. We are going to...
Hang tight. What? Wait, what? Fight it in the streets. What's that even mean? White House posted this, or on their official White House, the White House. Dun, dun, dun. Their Rep. Jeffries, they're calling him out. This is at Rapid Response 47. The reason this channel was made was because, and it's got the gray checkbox, was because we knew that misinformation was going to happen. Here is a way to officially fight that. Here is your EBS system. Kind of. Musk and Trump are together. Musk is going to let Trump post what he needs to. We know that. We actually I think we have reasonable faith that this is going to work out. So posted on the EAS channel. I don't know, maybe I'm just stretching it, but the EAS, I forget. They've changed it a few times. Will House Minority Leader Jeffries apologize for what he said? At a press conference this morning in Brooklyn, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries made a sick call for violence and incited his followers to fight President Trump's agenda in the streets. Will Minority Leader Jeffries apologize for this disgusting threat? Or will he double down on the same calls for violence that have plagued the country for years? We are calling it out real time. We are rippling it real time. The deep state doesn't control the narrative. We do. We are the news. What we focus on is what happens, is what becomes. What you focus on is reality. If you focus on their reality, then you help make that. If you focus on our reality, then you help make that. Which reality would you like to help with? Absolute Redux guy. I like how Grassley was the first to ask Kash about QAnon. He, of course, asked him about QAnon, which we all do know exists, but Kash was able to give an answer that was be able to step away from it. They ran to the right? They turned around and faced the torpedo, as Juan Saban loves bringing up that that reference. Great reference too, by the way. They basically sped up the process, got in front of it right off the bat, and said everybody's going to give you a hard time about Q. Let's shut that down. And it was the same thing that Cash was doing too with listing off prisoner names. And like, this guy actually assaulted somebody. And, Cash just handled that beautifully. And a number of them were using that same approach. But Cash, shut it down. He's like, I don't know them. They hated it. Pissed him off, but yeah, I don't know him. And really, if he didn't explain exactly how he's involved, which I think was smart from one standpoint, and then it could have, he could have given up. He could have basically said, here, look, here's the thing. I didn't know who was actually in there. I was helping raise money for all these people. I thought it was super wonderful that they were all singing together. I mean, would you say it's wrong that there's arts and crafts and type stuff like that, or learning abilities within prisons so people can actually better themselves in case they do ever get out? There's a lot of things he could have said that really would have addressed that whole side of it, but he didn't touch it. Can't touch this. Do. Right? How? Why? A lot of us, I think, were like, you should have said something. You should have said this. He didn't. And again, that's training. There's someone that's helping. That's coaching. It's smart. So the side that he dealt with was their side kind of, and just staying in their muddy waters, but not really giving it any attention. I thought it was brilliant. Senior FBI leaders ordered to retire, resign, or be fired by Monday. And a bunch of these guys. Executive assistant director level or special agent in charge level. Whole bunch of people that, well, one, were part of the Biden administration first, but secondly, probably involved in, well, stuff that they don't like, maybe attacking Trump, maybe not helping with certain other things. But yeah, leadership changes have drawn internal consternation, great word, in part because these officials didn't have anything to do with the prosecutions of Trump, but they've been the focus on the president's ire, I guess. Personal moves come as hundreds of FBI agents were assigned to investigate the January 6th people. So anyway, I think there's something to be said about a lot of this and how this is played out. Again, if you're a law enforcement and you literally were going after your own people, you're almost the scary kind. It's what the psych test has been looking for a long time, unfortunately. We've got, I think, a bunch of people across the nation that are in positions of power, especially from a legal standpoint, that I think it goes to their heads sometimes. Their heads, I think, mixture. I think some actually do it for the right reasons, but it's certainly a scary job. Defense Department dumps travel policy for troops seeking abortions. Yeah. Pentagon leaders late Thursday revoked this whole thing in the Defense Department. If you got to fly someplace to get an abortion, that's okay. Not anymore. No, that's your problem. You've got to do a vacation time or whatever, however that works in the military. I think they pretty much own you constantly, but I think you do get a little time off base maybe. FCC chairman launches investigation into NPR and PBS over alleged airing of commercials. So when you're a commercial-free radio station or whatever, in these cases, I mean radio basically, and TV, you are not allowed to do advertisements. You can do what's called PSAs. You have to, in fact. And you can talk about things that maybe are important, but you can't imply or can't have any sort of do this and something happens. That you can't. That's basically advertising. So they're apparently doing some similar stuff to do this and then, help this cause. That's advertising. So these guys are being looked into because this advertising is going towards deep state stuff. If you guys understood how many, I even see it a bunch, unfortunately, on Fox News. They still use a bunch of these people. But there's just a lot of people they're trying to get your info. They're trying to get you to do something. Anyway, there's the levels to which it's what they're doing to us is insane. But a lot of us sign up for it. That's kind of the hard part, trying to get people to realize don't watch this necessarily every day. If you're going to watch Fox, keep watching. But if not, maybe, go to some other source, find some, watch movies. Because sometimes not being directly glued into it helps a lot too. We're going through a change. We're going through a doorway. I don't know how to explain this. It's so hard. Again, I think my time's coming in the future, but we'll see. Colombian president asked undocumented Colombians in the United States to return. I just think this is funny as hell. It's no, sorry. We said to go there, but now come back. We're welcome open arms, right? probably singing that song. But at the same time, they're most likely going to end up back in prison. But whatever. They're trying to bend the knee, many are saying. I think it's not going to happen. So it's just, to me, it seemed like a stupid move, right? Like a jink. But the dude's like 10 feet away. And like, did you just jink me from 10 feet away? I was like, yeah, I just wanted to see what you do. You know, you're like, I'm 100 feet away. There's no way you could hit me with anything. And I can tell you don't have a gun on. Idiot. Trump strips millions from DEI foreign aid programs funding Irish musicals, LGBTQ programs in Serbia, and more. What? My Irish musical channel's going away? Damn. We're millions we're sending to these stupid programs. They're already starting to save us hundreds of millions, which is it's leading into billions, and it all adds up. And it's all that little stuff that they funneled off in all sorts of ways, and it's just stupid. So President Donald Trump is taking further action against the 50 former intelligence officials who falsely suggested Hunter Biden's laptop was part of Russian disinformation campaign, instructing agencies to also ban those individuals from stepping foot in secure U.S. government facilities, according to a memo obtained by the Daily Wire. 29th January cabinet memorandum, first obtained by the Daily Wire, expands Trump's day one executive order, which revoked the security clearance for the 50 individuals sent on behalf of the president. It orders the country's top national security agencies to revoke unescorted access to secure U.S. government facilities from the 50 former intelligence officials named in the executive order. These individuals no longer possess a need to access secure facilities and, as outlined in the executive order, do not have the appropriate security clearance to access classified information. He has shut them out. None of those 50 people can now do any more, what is it, when they're on another program on like Fox, right? And they're giving correspondent or whatever they are, right? Expert. Yeah, these guys don't have any more info. They're literally shut down. Caroline Leavitt announces 10,000 citizen journalists apparently signed up for that White House thing. I was not one of them. I just don't want to do it, frankly. I don't. It's not what I'm into. It's not my thing. I like personality and stuff. Being in the White House, like, 10,000 people doing it. That's perfect. If I can get some of them to maybe try to run for office, that would be cool too, because you guys sound like you're probably in the right line of, the right way of thinking. But after announcing our briefing room changes on Wednesday, this White House has received more than 10,000 submissions. That's really cool. A lot of people want to be involved in the government. See, we're the media now. Trump order pledges to prosecute teachers, admins for facilitating gender confusion. There's a bunch of stuff in this executive orders that he's been doing around gender and what government agencies are pushing. And as of at this point, and it's written in here at some point or someplace, but they talk about any individual within a school that actually tries to keep this or tries to bend. Actually, I think it's more in the section of trying to bend a child into a certain, questioning that's causing them to think maybe my sex isn't what I think it is. And that's become illegal. If you do that, you're going to be in big, big trouble. So unlawfully facilitating the social transitioning of a minor student is what it's called. And you really shouldn't be messing with minors as an adult. They're going through a very confused time, and there's people that are taking advantage of that. That's literally what this is. We've all had our moments where we were probably, did something. I don't want to say anything. I don't want to admit to any of this shit. Any of the stuff I'm hoping you don't have any sort of camera footage of. Thank God we had actual VHS tapes way back then. It was a pain in the ass to do it. So reasonably sure any crazy shit I've ever done is safe. I just reintroduced H.R. 899, a one-sentence bill to terminate the Federal Department of Education and return power back to the teachers. This is Massey put this through. I'm just trying to give the guy a chance. I don't know. I feel like we're a long way from that, but it could happen, should happen, be nice. Federal employees told to remove pronouns from email signatures by end of day. Get that shit out of your email signature or else you're busted. Sanctuary City, under House investigation, has ignored a detainer on an illegal migrant charged with rape. So this guy, I don't know, he was busted for rape, literally busted for it, and then they put him back out on the streets, even though ICE had like an arrest warrant essentially for him, or get them the hell out of here warrant, whatever they're called. This guy the sanctuary said he kept him safe. So I don't know if they're trying to go after this guy for like if the government's going after them. Oversight committee says they're looking into it. That's like Congress looking into it. So I don't know what happens. They pass laws so this can't happen anymore. I don't know. If they can't actually stop it, which is what we need, we'll get there, I guess. The fact that attention's coming to it is the big takeaway. Oddly, Arizona governor, we love her so, Governor Katie Hobbs, they're now investigating illegitimate Katie Hobbs, they're calling her here, because $339 million has apparently disappeared. Hobbs's budget director also mysteriously resigned yesterday. State Senator Alex Kolodin issued notice to Hobbs stating, quote, "Imagine my shock when the legislature was informed the state has several insolvent agencies and requires a $339 million bailout to close out the current fiscal year. Since your liaisons dedicated to briefing members of the legislature failed to provide detail on how we got here, I am putting my request in writing. Arizonans deserve to know the details. Why did you mislead the legislature about the spending you intend to approve? In just 2 weeks' time, I've learned that the problem has worsened and that your office request is now $350 million. So somebody's looking into the corrupt ones. I'm wondering what happens in Georgia. I wonder if he played his cards properly. Obviously, Katie Hobbs never did. She is as corrupt as they seem to come. Don't know for sure, of course, but it seems that way. Biden appointed Census Bureau director resigns midway through term. Yep. Robert Santos. His resignation will allow Trump to reshape the agency. So that's cool. Census Bureau is not going to lie, even though Trump is probably not going to get to do a census in his presidency. Maybe. I know there's been so much talk about all that. I love these guys. These guys are incredible. And it's funny, a very good friend of mine hit me up, and she goes, what do you really think about the healthy home? And this is a lady I see at a coffee shop pretty often, and lovely lady. And she says, really, how do you feel about that stuff? And she knows I don't lie. So the thing that's funny is, one, and I started with it many times, I love this. This I actually notice. This I just notice more energy. It works. It's awesome. Works pretty quickly. Now, the collagen, which I'm into my next box, by the way, is something that I know helps. Collagen is just something that helps throughout the body. This could be a big part of what's helping my issue that I'm going to talk about in a second. It's not an issue anymore, though, by the way. It's gone, and that's what was tripping me out, and that's what I was explaining to her. So it could be this. This is possible. This is one of the unfortunates. And then stem active. It could be that. Because I could have some shoulder stem cells that went in and became shoulder cells and have repaired it. Possibly a mixture of the two. Whatever the case is, I love it. They've just got a few products, and these products are awesome. I had shoulder pain for a while. I think it was because I was putting pressure and weight on stuff. So I got smart about not doing that anymore. But like, it was hurting at the gym and stuff for a while. Honestly, within a month of taking this stuff, and again, it could be a mixture, but within a month of taking this stuff, I don't feel any, just like at the gym, there's no shoulder pain at all. None. Like that's what I was tripping on when I was talking to her. I'm like, wow, I think it actually has helped. Because, and the collagen one would make sense. Most important ingredient when it comes to healing, that kind of stuff. But stem cells do too. Like, we only have so many of them. As we age, we get fewer and fewer. This actually kicks that number up significantly. And there's studies to back this up. Powerful stuff. Go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Stem Active. This is your stem cells. Helps healing. Stem cells can become any kind of cells throughout the body. You got issues with your lungs and you need to heal some lung action. Stem cells can become lung cells. They can become muscle cells. They can become heart cells, whatever. Heart cell can't become any other thing ever. Once it's a heart cell, it's a heart cell. But stem cells can kind of become somebody else. I think they stay that way forever once they become that, but again, that's the point of them. They've got a gel, they've got a pill, a couple ways to go, whatever you prefer. Amaze is the collagen. This stuff's awesome. It's a little bitter. The taste isn't bad. It's a little bitter to me. I don't know, whatever the case is. I've gotten much more used to it. The powder stuff's like that too, which we'll get to in a second. I've never tried this. This one is for antioxidants. A powerful product if you're somebody that's looking, because you got a lot of, maybe you eat a lot of bad stuff, whatever. You're going to get a lot of these toxins out of your body. Antioxidants are kind of tie into that. These cells in this royal berry AO12, it attaches to these antioxidants and pulls them away from your cells. So rather than having one of these high strong ions like rip apart a cell, it'll attach with one of these things floating around, and then it's taken care of. It's happy, and it doesn't need to bug anyone. That's what what they're trying to do when they're trying to get free radicals out of your system. Prime is again powerful. Just it gives you this nitric oxide booster. I literally have gotten just more energy. And I've not gotten to the point where I'm doing like 2 a day or anything crazy like that, though. That'd be weird. Do a second one later in the day. It's not like it's nothing like caffeine or anything. It's not even like that Focus stuff from the Root brands. It's not even like that. Like, it's just, I think you're getting more oxygen and stuff when you breathe. Like, it just helps. And I'm just noticing more energy in general. Just more kind of with it. I don't know. It's awesome stuff. No, it's helping me. I can feel it. Go to danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. That's danradiostyle.healthyhome.com. Make that big difference in your health. It will matter in the big picture. Hey, by the way, something to celebrate. Not just your health, though. Yeah. Chuck Todd, he's exiting NBC. Bye-bye, Chucky. Chucky's gone. Chucky is not going to be back anytime soon. That's for sure. On January 30th, U.S. CENTCOM, apparently we did an attack against northwest Syria. We killed another terrorist person. This is Trump in office now, killing Mohammed Salah al-Zabir, a senior operative in the terrorist organization Haras al-Din, an al-Qaeda affiliate. Well, offshoots, apparently. They are literally like, we are taking down the entire terrorist network. Anybody that pops up as a boss, you will be taken down. This airstrike was part of a CENTCOM's ongoing commitment, yada, yada. So we're taking down some bad people. Here's Pete Hegseth talking about all options on the table when it comes to dealing with the cartels in Mexico. Not trying to get ahead of Trump, as he says, but...
The drug cartels have been declared terrorist organizations. And if you find that, and we know if there's al-Qaeda, we're going to hit them. I don't care if you're in Somalia, Sudan, or in Syria. If we find that they continue to fire at our border controls and they continue to put fentanyl into our country, as the Secretary of Defense, are you permitted now to go after them in Mexico or wherever they are?
Brian, I don't want to get ahead of the president, and I won't. That's ultimately going to be his decision. But let me be clear, all options will be on the table. If we're dealing with what are designated to be foreign terrorist organizations who are specifically targeting Americans on our border, and we're finally securing our border. We've been securing other people's border for a very long time. The military is shifting toward an understanding of homeland defense on our sovereign territorial border. That is something we will do and do robustly. So we're already...
The drug cartels have been declared terrorist.
Yeah, so he's making a difference already, right? China building a huge wartime military command center in Beijing, sort of like the Pentagon, but like way bigger. So everybody's kind of like tripping on this. This massive complex is being built. Probably going to house its own power and stuff too, most likely. But it's, big ordeal. They're going to be watching this closely, I'm sure, over the next number of years and sending spies in, of course. Rubio says Trump is serious about buying Greenland. I'm just saying, he's like literally admitting this. That's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of funny. Kind of. I mean, we'll probably end up with Greenland. In Canada, man, I hope you guys like us because that might actually happen too. Everybody is tired. The mood has changed. And apparently, Ukrainian army is have some deserting problems. And I don't mean eating delicious, yummy ice cream or something. No, they're like literally leaving the country. There was a bunch of them that went on a training mission to France. Not sure what they were trying to do. And just learned we want to be able to fight the croissant. It's so good. Like it's got power over us. So they went there, but yet never came back. They got a wee bit of a problem, it seems. American fighters, though, somehow, these are people that have volunteered. These are not sent, they're saying and admitting to, or let's put it that way, are dying, though. So Americans are dying in Ukraine. Again, I've talked about just the way, and if this is anyone's families out there, I'm sorry. I mean, I of course bless you and wish you well through this tough time. But when you've got somebody that makes the wrong choice and then doesn't survive, it's Darwin, right? Isn't it? I mean, isn't it kind of at some point? This is, again, I just got to phrase this carefully because I don't want to get in trouble, but this is something that you can try, and it might work for you. It kind of goes against what some of the pharma companies say, but it's, I think, a very interesting idea. I don't really ever get migraines, but for those of you that do, this might be something that is worth keeping in mind. I don't think I did that right. Nope. Did I? Yeah. Yes, I did. Fantastic. I don't even trust myself.
Majority of headaches, headaches, guys, remember this. There are no pain receptors in the brain. Brain surgery is painless. It's painless. Right? So the brain is not capable of sending a pain signal. So where does the signal come from? It comes from the covering of the brain called the dura. The dura hates two things. It hates being stretched and it hates being contracted. 85% of all the migraine sufferers that I've ever treated had a simple clinical deficiency in sodium. I have them drink salt water and their headaches go into permanent remission. Because we are not hydrated when we have water in our blood. We're hydrated when we have water in our tissues. And what determines whether or not water leaves the blood and enters the tissue is the sodium gradient. It's called osmosis. So if we actually restore the sodium gradient, that dura starts to relax and the pain goes away.
There you go. Salt is an interesting thing that needs to be balanced. Too little salt, you will have issues, big time. And migraines would be an indication, maybe, something you could try, right? That could indicate that maybe you're getting into a low sodium phase, and then, hypertension and some of the other things that start to happen when you get into too high sodium. I think there's probably like this happy balance that needs to be, and what I understand is it's a range. I took some food nutrition classes for sure. Certainly 1,000 to 1,500 is low sodium, maybe 2,000 even, but like normal they say was 5,000 milligrams or 5 grams. So it's a lot of salt. Especially if you've ever had like a low sodium diet in a hospital, it's like 2,000 to 3,000. That was at least back in the day. Who knows if they've changed it nowadays. Now, interesting with this pain stuff, they've got a new pain medicine. Right now, typical opioid medications, they affect the part of the brain that deals with pain. Like the body's like, ow, hurts, and it's like sending that to the brain. And what the opioids do is they kind of like, hey, this make you kind of high in a weird way, so you don't really pay attention to that feeling, right? That thing it's telling you. And you're like, I don't feel it. This takes it from a different place. Say you've got a burn, just as a crazy example, on your hand, right? You burn your hand for some reason. It sucks. What this medicine would do is it goes to the receptors where the hand is, where the burn is, and it makes them stop. Now, the very dangerous thing about this, one, this would stop pains all over the body, most likely. So anybody that's in any sort of pain would probably find this good. I doubt it would have the same effect as far as making you high, which might bum some people out, but if it's ultimately about losing pain, this might be an interesting way to go. I don't know what this stuff is. And again, it's a medicine. I don't like that at all. I like the other one a lot more, but still, FDA is approving this new medicine. Whatever. If it gets people off opioids, that's probably better. I know you're taking a pill already, so this is kind of interesting technology. I don't know. We'll see where it gets. Kennedy's hearing. We're not just over-medicating our children, we're over-medicating our entire population. It's certainly a theory. I think we need to study it. Again, he's got some strong beliefs, and that's awesome. And I just say that for YouTube, not trying to push any sort of anything. I think it's important to at least have these things talked about. Exactly. And that is not necessarily a healthy way to go about continuing our society either, right? We got problems all over the place. Federal court rules ban on handgun sales to adults under 21 is unconstitutional. Pretty cool. Federal appeals court ruled this Thursday that a decades-old ban on federally licensed firearm dealers selling handguns to people aged 18, 19, and 20 is unconstitutional. In a unanimous ruling, the three-judge panel in the New Orleans-based 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals slammed the Biden administration's attempt to argue that the handgun ban was in line with the nation's historic tradition of firearm regulations, which is not true. You could be like 4 and buy a firearm back in the day. Get out of here. Maybe not quite that young, but it was like 12-year-olds. So I don't know. I don't know what's going on with these two astronauts, frankly, up in space that Musk is maybe going to rescue, hopefully. Sunita Williams and Butch Wilmore, they set a new record of a 5.5-hour spacewalk. Now, here's the thing. I'm just going to throw this out there, guys. I'm not an expert. I don't want to even pretend I am an expert because I'm not. But these two astronauts literally were sent up to test that the Boeing Starliner worked. They wanted to be able to dock to the space station. Then they were going to leave within less than a day or around a day. It wasn't very long. But they had problems with the thrusters. They had all sorts of concerns. So they ended up kicking that capsule back so it wouldn't cause problems to Earth. So now these guys did the longest spacewalk. Why? What are you out in space for so long for? What are you doing? Are you having to transfer to different compartments because there's a leak or something? Because that was one of the things that was always prophesied, that there'd be some problem with the space station. I don't know how many people are actually on it right now. Apparently these two, for sure. I don't know. I'm totally getting crazy conspiratorial here. Come on, just give me a second. But I wonder if there's a larger problem, and now all of a sudden these people are the most adept at spacewalks because they have to. Don't know. We'll find out maybe. Hopefully, again, there's a lot of really messed up stuff that's still kind of got to play out to some way. Hopefully not as messed up as it was expected to be. It's always I think we've kept it kind of retarded, if you will, and fun to use that word for legitimate reasons. But I still think there's going to be some sort of experience, right? Dark night of the soul to some degree. I don't think we're quite there yet. I don't think Biden was it. No, not quite. Not quite, I don't think. I don't know. Donald Trump tripped this out in regards, he shared, I guess, Billboard Chris posted, Washington State Democrats voted not to inform parents if a child is sexually abused by a school employee. Washington State Democrats have decided that if a school member sexually molests or abuses a child, which would be your child if you're a parent in Washington State, they don't need to tell you about it. Just, if you live in Washington State and you ain't rippling somehow, I get it. I get that state is hardcore. It's almost like feels worse than New York sometimes. Interpol arrests Israeli Yoel Alter, leader of one of the largest child trafficking rings in the world. Nobody's talking about it, though. Largest trafficker in the world just recently got arrested by Interpol. Ex-Obama advisor has been jailed as a pedophile. He took stuffed animals and condoms to meet a 9-year-old girl because, that's what you bring, I guess. He got caught. He was put through, they were basically trying to catch him. It was a cop pretending to be a 9-year-old, which is just, man. Sean Diddy Combs hit with a new indictment in sex trafficking case. So there's a lot of discussion that the information should come out. I mean, I think Senator Cruz was talking about, I want that list put out. I think that's like the Epstein one for sure. I think that's been tried. He's guilty. Let's get that list out for sure. I'm not against Diddy's thing. It's still expanding. This is way bigger than Bill Cosby was, right? At first Bill Cosby, first person comes out, he sexually abused me. It's come on, it's Bill Cosby, man. Come on. And the second and third, and you're like, there's just women trying to get money. Then the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, and you're like, this doesn't look good. Right? And then it was 30? So Diddy's way past that. I don't know. It's going to be crazy. There is going to be a lot of people that are going to fall from grace. A lot of people that are trying to check out while they can. Many that won't be able to. That are going to get caught in the spotlight. It's like someone trying to run off stage, but the spotlight keeps following them. They can't. We've got some hiccups in the road. DRS, likesgold.com. Diversify. That's all we're doing. Diversify. Get out of that system as much as you can kind of deal with. Because it's like the day after. You guys ever see that movie? Anyway, I don't want to get into it. It was a horrible movie. Talked about nuclear war. Living after it and living through it. It's horrible. I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's going to be way better, but I don't know. We haven't gotten there yet. A lot of choices, a lot of rippling will make a difference. Get out there and do your thing, guys. I love you guys. Shoulder to shoulder. Let's keep moving forward together. Where we go one, we go all. It's On the Fringe with Dan Radio Style.